Today I'm going to give you an overview of a fascinating subject that's been gaining a lot of attention recently. It's the gut-brain axis. I'm going to explain what it is, how it works, the impacts it has on our health, how we can harness it to optimize our health, and some specific examples of foods that can be of great benefit to supporting the gut-brain axis. So what exactly is the gut-brain axis then? Well, essentially it's a two-way communication system between our brain and our gastrointestinal tract. And the two ends of that communication system are our central nervous system and our enteric nervous system. That's the nervous system that surrounds our gut. And together, these two systems help maintain the balance and function of our intestines. But it's not just about digestion. You see, this connects our brain's emotional and cognitive regions in the hippocampus and amygdala directly with the intestines. And this gut-brain axis is actually formed before we're even born and is influenced by things including what our mum's microbiome was, whether she took antibiotics when we were pregnant, and even the mode of our delivery. And some of these early influences have been shown to have really long-lasting effects on our microbiome and actually our long-term health. So how does this system actually work? Well, like I mentioned earlier on, it's all about communication, and the enteric nervous system communicates with the central nervous system through parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous fibers. And these fibers really control our digestive function. And the vagal nerve plays a big role here, where it detects hormones and peptides produced in the gut, things like GLP-1, serotonin, and even dopamine, where it signals back to the brain, passing back the messages that it receives. And whilst these peptides are produced by the gut, there's a significant amount of microbial interaction. That's right, from the bacteria in our gut. These can send signals which impact the release of these peptides by the endocrine messenger cells in our gut, which then control the signals going back to the brain. For example, like serotonin, which is associated with mood. And it's been shown that probiotic supplementation, that's supplementing with good strains of bacteria, can have an effect equivalent to citalopram, one of the leading antidepressants. Now, going a bit more in depth into the role of the microbiome, we can see that the microbes play a huge impact on the gut-brain axis. You see, they can impact the integrity of the gut lining, activate immune cells within the gut, and even produce their own local neurotransmitters, all of which then send signals back through that enteric nervous system directly to the brain. And interestingly, it's a double-way system. You see, the brain can also signal to the gut, which then produces peptides and hormones which interact and affect the microbiome itself. Now, there can be negative consequences from a disrupted gut microbiome. An imbalance in the gut microbiome is known as dysbiosis, and this refers to an overgrowth of the bad bacteria. Usually this refers to gram-negative bacteria. This is because this kind of bacteria have a substance called LPS in their outer cell wall, also known as endotoxin. And when they grow and multiply, if they're left out of check, as they die, they shed their cell wall, and this releases LPS into our gastrointestinal tract, where it then gets into our bloodstream, and it can trigger inflammation, obesity, and a range of negative health consequences. And one of the negative consequences of dysbiosis is neuroinflammation, which relates to an increased activation of the nervous system and alterations in the permeability of the blood-brain barrier. It also relates to an increased activation of immune cells and has been linked to an increased risk of autoimmune disease. For example, changes to the gut microbiome have been shown to impact microglia and astrocytes. These are two specialized immune cells found in our brain. And this changes them into a pro-inflammatory kind of cell, which are linked to a range of negative health outcomes, including depression and anxiety in the short term. And one of the ways it's believed that Alzheimer's disease might progress is through an increase of inflammatory signals from the gut. This then causes an increased buildup of amyloid beta in the brain, which is the toxic, sticky protein that's associated with dysfunctional brain cells. And similarly, in Parkinson's disease, alterations to the gut microbiome and a compromised intestinal barrier can both contribute towards neuroinflammation, worsening the progression of the disease. And it doesn't stop there either. You see, the gut microbiome has even been linked to conditions like autism too, showing there is such a strong link between the gut and our brain. Now, on the flip side of things, products of our microbiome can actually support the integrity of our brain health and the blood-brain barrier, which creates a positive reinforcement loop. Short-chain fatty acids, for example, are produced by our gut microbiome, and these can provide our brain with a clean source of energy and support optimal health and well-being. But it is a delicate balancing act, because an altered gut microbiome, stress and inflammation can disrupt the blood-brain barrier, allowing harmful substances to enter our brain. But a healthy microbiome even has the power to encourage the growth of new brain cells. That's right, you see, our microbiome plays a role in influencing neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells, in our hippocampus. And this is through its ability to modulate BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Now, a dysbiosis can completely reverse this through the neuroinflammation that it drives as a result of its signaling through the NF-kappa beta pathway and TNF-alpha. So, if we can promote a good, healthy gut microbiome, we can ensure that we're not suffering the effects of neuroinflammation, but instead we're optimizing that neurogenesis, the growth and birth of new brain cells. So how can we optimize our gut-brain axis? Well, one way is through exercise, which helps support the microbiome and encourages a healthy development of good bacterial strains, strengthening the gut-brain axis. You see, moderate physical activity supports the gut-brain axis through the normal production of short-chain fatty acids and neurotransmitters, which optimize the brain's function. And research has shown this also works in reverse too, with evidence suggesting that the microbiome can boost athletic performance by enhancing dopamine signaling. Secondly, effective stress management is vital to optimize the gut-brain axis. Immediately, stress can cause a decrease in motility, that's movement, through the gastrointestinal tract. It can disrupt the mucosal layer and the integrity of the intestinal walls. This then leads to a breakdown of the immune function and its endocrine signaling back to the brain. And over the long term, it can significantly impact the signaling from our gut to the brain and has been associated with an increased risk for dysbiosis. That's the overgrowth of the bad bacteria we spoke about earlier. And sleep optimization is a big one too, as a lack of sleep has been associated with a decrease in diversity and function of the healthy bacteria. And as a double whammy, less sleep has also been linked to a decrease in the function of some of those areas within our brain that are linked to the gut-brain axis. And within those three lifestyle factors of sleep, exercise, and stress management, there are really big positive or negative feedback loops where the enhancement of one feeds into the other and supports the gut-brain axis either in a positive way or in a negative way. And finally, it's on to the big one, diet, as diet and nutrition are key to optimizing our gut microbiome. This is because healthy eating patterns can help support optimum cognitive function by a diverse range of mechanisms, including neuroplasticity. This is the ability of our brain cells to form new connections. It can reduce inflammation in the brain, provide extra support and protection to our neurons, and encourage the growth and development of entirely new brain cells. Now, one of the things that you definitely want to avoid in the foods that you eat are pesticides. Glyphosate, for example, otherwise known as Roundup, which is one of the most heavily used pesticides in the world, has a hugely negative impact on our gut microbiome. And unfortunately, it's sprayed onto many of the foods that we eat. So you can avoid this by choosing organic where possible, which minimizes the risk, or looking out for the Clean 15, which is a list online of the 15 foods that have the least contamination of some of these pesticides. Now, getting back to those good things that you do want to include, prebiotics and probiotics both play a huge role in optimizing our gut health. Prebiotics are non-digestible fibers that provide food for the good strains of bacteria in our gut, enabling them to produce health-promoting compounds like short-chain fatty acids that promote optimal gut lining, reduce inflammation, and support our optimal health and well-being. And good sources of prebiotics include things like Jerusalem artichokes, green bananas, garlic, onion, leeks, and one of my favorites because it supports a big range of diverse healthy bacteria is acacia fiber or gum arabic, which you have to buy in a powdered form and can mix into things like your smoothies. And then you've got the probiotics. These are foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, and sauerkraut, which contain the healthy bacteria that promote an optimal balance for our gut microbiome. And there are other specific foods which contain unique compounds that can support our gut-brain axis. You've got fruit and veg with their rich fibre and polyphenol content. You've got oily fish, walnuts and flax seeds for their high concentration of omega-3. And even coffee has been shown to have a really beneficial effect on our brain health too. And amongst the nuts, walnuts are the real standout. They've continuously been linked with improvements in various aspects of brain health. And this could be due to their high concentration of omega-3, that essential fatty acid that forms such a large proportion of our brain's total mass. And beetroots, for me, are a great addition due to their ability to help dilate our blood vessels. This encourages a greater blood flow to the brain, ensuring that it can work as best as it can. And then you've got the foods that contain the sirtuin agonists, things like resveratrol, quercetin, and pterostilbene, which are shown to have powerful effects on our brain's health. And amongst these, blueberries are a really great brain food. They're a rich source of pterostilbene, which has been shown to encourage the growth and development of new brain cells and promote the connections between existing brain cells, enabling us to develop greater neural connections, more memory, better brain function. And on the larger scale, the Mediterranean diet as a whole lifestyle diet has been shown to help support optimal brain health and encourage a healthy gut microbiome. And as a lifestyle practice, intermittent fasting has even been shown to help optimize some of those healthy bacteria in our gut. So there you have it. The gut-brain axis is a fascinating subject that comprises so many aspects of our health. And I'm sure in years to come, it will continue to gain more and more credence as we learn more about it and the impacts that it has. So by optimizing our exercise, sleep, stress, and most importantly, our diet, we can optimize our gut microbiome, enhancing our health and longevity. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe below. We release daily videos about health and well-being optimization.